Sanibona? Tobe. Goeienaand dames en heren. Ons verstaan ons Afrikaans ook nie. Good evening. I should say that I look underdressed for the occasion in light of the instruction of township style dress code Brapita. So my sincere apologies for being inappropriately dressed. I just dashed like the Vice Dean from the Senate meeting of the university, and I didn't have a chance to go and change. So please forgive me for being dressed in this particular manner. So let me begin by acknowledging many of our icons and leaders who are present here, but let me of course begin by acknowledging our Vice Dean, Professor Grace Kunu. She was just recently appointed as Vice Dean. We had a clean sweep in the top three, I was saying jokingly, of the Faculty of Humanities. And Professor Grace is the Vice Dean, and we look forward to her leadership and stewardship of research portfolio in the Faculty of Humanities. And thank you very much for taking ownership of this very important moment in our journey. I, of course, was going to begin by acknowledging our host, Ubrayu, who's unfortunately not here, and in his stead we've got Sis Barbara, Excellency. Sis Barbara, a warm welcome. It's always wonderful to see you. And that word called deployment, I believe that you have been requested to stand in for Ubrayu, and I'm sure that it's going to be wonderful to hear you later. Our guest speaker is Bongile Kumalo. Our discussants this evening, Ubra Don Matera and Ubra Sipo. Okay, I won't put any middle name, Mabuse. Our partner in this important initiative, Managing Director of W. Wright Associates, who, I'm not going to use the word comrade, Ubra Siahwa. And of course, our discussion facilitator, Brenda, Sis Brenda Sisane. And allow me also to acknowledge the council members who've already been acknowledged, who've been able to find time in their busy diaries to come and join us this evening, and the many senior colleagues here at the University of Johannesburg. But of course, this event is in particular an opportunity for the rest of us, including myself, to be able to pause and to reflect on the journey traveled thus far. So it's indeed a great honor and a special privilege for me to extend a warm African welcome to the University of Johannesburg, especially here at our flagship campus in Soweto. And I hope that many of you will agree with me that this is indeed a flagship campus. It's a campus that is second to no other campus, whether in South Africa, on our continent, or abroad. And we continue to nurture this campus and to demonstrate that it is indeed possible for us to construct meaningful, substantive, and beautiful facilities and an intellectual enterprise in the very townships, and in particular in this township, that, if you like, was critical in the final phase of the push towards democracy. And so, like me, I'm certain that we are all looking forward to wonderful moments of reflection and of deliberation this evening. It's an evening where in part we can just put things aside and hit the pause button. There's of course very few things that are important in the African narrative as simply saying welcome. There are other elements of that narrative, which includes moments where we say well done. There are moments when we say you have traveled well, farewell. There are moments when we say goodbye. And I think that it's important for us to make the point, for me to make the point that unlike in other cultural narratives where perhaps the welcome is reduced to a formal administrative or polite gesture, that in African tradition it is far more than that. It is to say that, amongst others, that our humanity is uplifted, is inspired by your presence. That your presence has significant meaning and adds meaning to who we are and who we are becoming. And so your presence is very important in our ongoing journey here at the University of Johannesburg. And so I want to extend warm and sincere appreciation because our Ubuntu, our being, requires moments in which we pause, in which we acknowledge each other, in which we make the point that we are who we are because of our shared journeys and our shared interpretations, sometimes divergent interpretations, but that the journey that we are sharing is valuable and valued precisely because we are not single atoms, individuals traveling on this journey of ours. And so on these auspicious occasions, I often remind us of the significance of the role in society of our universities, given the extraordinary autonomy and academic freedom universities are accorded by society. And so society has legitimate expectations that universities will indeed heed the call for intellectual and for scientific stewardship. And so public scholarship, as exhibited in the public lecture this evening, is fully part of that call for intellectual and scientific stewardship. And UJ is honoured and proud to be at the forefront of South Africa and Africa's universities' response to this legitimate call to action. We're also proud and honoured that icons such as Helen Joseph, Richard Maponya, and this evening's host, Hugh Masekela, have taken the risk to loan their names and their persona in the service of this great cause of public scholarship, of this great cause and this great call for intellectual and scientific reflection. On these occasions, I often remark on and remind us of Martin Gregorian's hopefulness and, dare I say, deep controversy, when he argued that universities are not only repositories of past human behavior, they're instruments of civilization. And I'm sure you can pick up where the controversy lies in that statement. He continues that universities provide tools for learning, for understanding, and for progress. He claims that universities are the wellspring of action, a source of self-renewal, of intellectual growth and of hope, and that they are a medium of progress, of autonomy, of empowerment, of independence, and of self-determination. Yet at the same time, I offer us an alternative argument, that of Wernick, in which he argues that the university has a contradictory relationship with its surrounding society. On the one hand, the autonomy in terms of its axial values of truth, of wisdom, of science, and so forth. And on the other hand, he argues, those who control the means of material production control the means of mental production. And the dominant ideas are the ideas of those who dominate. But also the reflections of a good friend of the University of Johannesburg, Professor Emmanuel Wallerstein, who spoke not so long ago at the Humanities Lecture Series as he considered his own journey. And he observed that it seems to me that it is the duty of the scholar to be politically and intellectually subversive of received truths. But that the only way this subversion can be socially useful is if it reflects a serious attempt to engage with and to understand the real world as best as we can. I'd also like to use this opportunity to advance the idea that the arts are the soul and the conscience of a nation, and hence also of the university. The university can't be isolated therefrom. Indeed, Ubradon Matera's famous line from Memory is the Weapon comes to mind. Describing Safai Town, he wrote, "The rich and the poor, the exploiters and the exploited, all knitted together in a colorful fabric that ignored race or class structures." Controversial, and challenging. And so fundamentally, this is what the arts are also capable of accomplishing. Great artists like Osis Bongela Kumalo, Sipho Mabuse, Ubradon transcend barriers of race and class through their artistry, and they take us with them. We're all uplifted by great art, regardless of who makes it or where it comes from. It reminds us of and affirms our common humanity. And so here at UJ, we have built a strong tradition of recognizing, of nurturing, and of celebrating this, both at the Art, Design, and Architecture faculty and the Humanities faculty, and through the excellent work that we are doing at the UJ Arts and Culture division in enriching the lives of our students and publics with theatre and with music. It might thus also be a good moment to announce on a very prominent platform that UJ Arts and Culture has, after 10 years of existence, as something of a service department, found an academic home in a community of like-minded academics and artists. And so this evening, as we celebrate in the lecture of U Sisbongile, as we celebrate the life and as we reflect on our shared journey and our common humanity and the complications, the contradictions, but also the great journeys, I extend on that note a warm welcome. Thank you.
The University of Johannesburg. Rethink, reinvent.